Going back to where like this movie was supposed to be the Adam Sandler movie where Adam Sandler isn't Adam Sandler.
Right.
Then don't have him play a song at the piano with his daughter, because I immediately heard, every Adam Sandler song.
Right.
It
seemed to me so Adam Sandler. Like, I didn't read anything about this ahead of time, so I didn't know this was supposed to be Adam Sandler's
serious role,
or that he was different. Anything to me, it was just another Adam Sandler.
So it wasn't supposed to be. So that's this one, and then there's another movie that's called Uncut Gems that he's in that also got like a ton of Oscar buzz. That's also like an Adam Sandler not being Adam Sandler. But I don't know that Adam Sandler can't be Adam Sandler, because like he had to bring a song into this. Like, I don't know, if you want an Adam Sandler movie that's not going to be Adam Sandler, don't let him sing.
Right.
It's every Adam Sandler, right?
Right. And they pulled out the stops with the people for this movie, right? You had Adam Driver,
who was also in Marriage Story, so Noah Baumbach's friend is Adam Driver.
Yep. And then you had Sigourney Weaver made an appearance. Yeah. You had Candice Bergen, Murphy Brown.
I have a note that just says Candice Bergen. Yes.
I'm like, I love Murphy Brown.
Oh my God, I love Candice
Murphy
Bergen.
Brown.
I know. She's just everything. She's just the best. Yeah.
She really is. I also have in my notes somewhere around this time that we get to the Matthews story when we get to there. Mm-hmm. And I'm just like, something that annoys me, because I come from, I have a sister, an older sister, same mother, father. And I have a younger sister, same mother, different father. But I have never in my whole existence felt that she was my half-sister.
That and family went out of their way.
Referring to him as his half brother, like he went out of his way for it. Yeah, and each other, they kept referring to each other, and they were going out of their way. And I was just like, "What damaged these people that they see this way?" And I think part of it is the divorce, the multiple divorces and stuff, but it's also, like at one point Matthew says something about like he feels like he should just walk away from his wife and his kid, right? And just call it. And I think a lot of people do that, and I think that's how we get to this scenarios where we have these type of things, because then they're not brought up together. I mean, we obviously lived with my mom, and then my mom remarried and everything, and that's why my sister is no different than any other sister. You know what I mean? She's my sister. So I just found that
they weren't brought up together.
Annoying to me. No, but I was like, you didn't get to that part. Yeah. So when that started, and you started with that, I was just like, ugh. And then that parents' house, there's $60,000 they bought it for. How much did they sell it for? We never learned.
Yeah, probably a ton.
I would think so, but back then, 1980s, was it a ton? I don't know.
Well, this wasn't filmed in the 1980s.
Was it? When was it filmed?
I thought it was like real time.
Oh, was it?
Was it not? Why do we always have a problem with when movies are taking place?
It didn't seem current.
It didn't?
It didn't seem current, like, to me. Like, it didn't seem like it was filmed here recently.
I think it was filmed in, like, 2017.
Okay.
Not the 80s.
Really? Okay.
Wait, we're going to have to look that up after, because I thought it took place... Don't look it up now, but I thought it took place...
I want to know.
I thought it took place like in real time.
I didn't see it that way. I felt to me like it was in the 80s.
Okay, I'm shocked, and I really want to know about that.
We have to look this up.
Yeah.
I have to look it up.
Okay, come back to us on that. I will say one part that I thought was very sad but also hilarious is when they see at the very end, when they see Paul, the old guy in the parking lot, and Gene just runs the other direction. Because I don't know if it's ever happened to you, but there have been times I once ran into my ex-boyfriend and his new girlfriend at a mall. And I kid you not, I didn't mean to. I made eye contact. He saw me. I saw him. I turned around and just started walking the other way. And I didn't even need to go the other way. But like my legs just did it. And I feel like that was like the Gene thing, Like he saw that guy and just started running.
Yeah, I thought that was funny because at first I was like, where's she going? She just took off.
She's such an oddball. I really love Gene.
Yeah, I do too. And
Does my hair look like Gene? At the end? Oh my God.
No, it looks better.
Okay, thank you.
I'm not smart enough to not fall in that trap. But I did like Jean, and her story was kind of like creepy, weird, but I'm also like, how often does this happen? Like, I feel like this happens a lot more than people say or share. And clearly it was a traumatic experience for her. But I also was thinking to myself, this isn't that old man's car, because he was the person that drove him there was like that caregiver. And I was like, this is really great. We just totally fucked up this guy's car. That
I was thinking the same
completely
thing. It's
innocent.
Totally a caregiver's car.
Yeah, I was like, oh my gosh.
I know.
Yeah.
But I did think that was funny. Overall, I will say, the movie on a whole, I didn't love it. But I also think it's because, and I hate to say this, but I feel like most of the time I was just like, ugh, this is my dad. And I feel the way that kind of like, this is it. At that last talk, when Adam Sandler's talking to Ben Stiller about how he's going to have to be the one to take care of him. And he's like, well, then just don't. What do you ever do for you? And Adam Sandler's like, well, I have to. He's our dad.
Right.
And Ben Stiller was just kind of like, I'm going back to LA.
Right.
That is like the internal conversation I always have with myself about my dad. I'm like, I need to make sure I remember every birthday and every date. And I need to make sure I remember to FaceTime him with the kids. And I need to make sure I remember to, check in on him. And I need to, honestly, he doesn't do any of those things.
Yeah.
He's never remembered my birthday. He never remembers my kids' birthdays. He doesn't call to check in on us. I'm like, why? Why do I do this?
You don't owe anybody anything.
But so I kind of like related to Adam Sandler in this, where I was just like, God, why do I continuously want to impress and continuously want to like make this man happy and make him proud of me?
Right.
Like, why?
It's a need. It's something that I think you don't get as a child. And so you have this desire to try and get that. But I think at some point we have to get to the point where we just say, this isn't important, or this isn't,
which is where
necessary.
I loved when Adam Sandler, like I felt when he dropped that plate and was like, I'm going to LA. I felt that in my bones. I was like, honestly, good for you. Like I wanted to do that and be like, fuck you, I'm leaving.
Right.
Because man, I related a lot. So as much as I didn't love this movie, I definitely related to the movie, and it like evoked a lot of emotion for me.
It did. It had its moments where I was like, oh. So overall, I started on this path of where I said, I feel psychotic. It's one of my notes, because I felt like it was just so all over the place. And these people were all so polarizing that they made you have a reaction to them. Like they fit something within a narrative of somebody or a scenario that you've run into, especially like,
absolutely,
where I think like, my real father, when I met him, he was very manipulative, and I think making you feel like that same scenario where like I'm the one putting in all this effort, and you like when you would talk to him, you'd be like, oh, I never hear from you, and I'd be like, well, that's interesting because the phone company says this phone takes incoming calls too, right? So
I finally used that, by the way, with my dad.
Good.
I took it from you. My dad once said, he was like, oh my God, it's so good to hear from you. I haven't heard from you, and I was like, well, the phone works both ways, like.
Right. Yeah, it's not all up to me. It's not up. You don't owe anybody anything because they're family.
Oh, and the best part is that my dad said, well, I always feel like I'm going to be interrupting you. And I was like, well, go ahead and make the call. And if I can't answer, I'll call you back. That was like 2 weeks ago. And he has not called me since.
Right. Yeah. I mean, at some point you have to accept people for who they are and either move on.
To a narcissistic old man.
Right. Or you just eliminate the parts that don't bring you joy and focus on the parts that bring you joy. If there's something in that interaction that you have, and I'm 100% in favor of, if there is no joy, there is no interaction that adds value to you or anybody's life in your family, then it's okay to exclude them from it.
Totally. But I also get that feeling that Adam Sandler, kind of it's like, well, then why do you do all this? He's my dad. I love him.
Right.
But also like, oh my God, I just wanted to smack Dustin Hoffman because I felt like that was my dad.
Right.
Just like, ugh.
Yeah. And, it's interesting too, when Dustin Hoffman found out or knew the story about what that man did, what Paul did to his daughter, right? And he was just like, he did nothing. And he was like, well, he was a decent person. And I'm like, that's not a decent person.
No.
That's a pervert. That's a weirdo.
Yeah.
Like, and it clearly had traumatized your child, right? Like, I feel like if that happened to one of my kids, Paul wouldn't be able to get around as an old man. He would not have made it that long.
If that had happened